Good morning, Miss Như and everyone. First of all, let me introduce our group. We have 5 members, me, Miss Nguyễn Thị Thanh Hảo, Mr. Mai Quang Hồ, Miss Nguyễn Thị Hương, Mr. Vương Nguyễn Khánh Huy, and Miss Lâm Thanh Ngọc. We will review the journals of group-based learning, dynamic interaction in groups by J.W. Stibos and R.L. Martens, and enabling group-based learning in teacher education by Terry DeYoung, Margaret Cullity, Yvonne High, Sue Sharp, Sue Pierce, Julia Wren. The first review of dynamic interaction in groups includes 7 parts. I will review parts 1, 2, 3, and 4, objects, introduction, group-based learning, and dimensions of group-based learning. Then Mr. Huy will present parts 5, 6, and 7, social construction of knowledge, interaction patterns, and conclusions. The second review of enabling group-based learning in teacher education includes 6 parts. Ms. Ngọc will review parts 1, 2, 3, and 4, objects, introduction, literature review, and methods. Mr. Ho will present part 5, findings. Ms. Hương will take part 6, conclusions and considerations. I would like to introduce the first review of dynamic interaction in groups. Let's begin with part 1, object. This paper delves into the conceptualization of group-based learning, examining the similarities and differences between the two main perspectives, cooperative and collaborative learning. By viewing the group as a distinctive learning environment, the authors aim to identify key elements for a process-based classification of group-based pedagogy, as well as propose a dynamic perspective on group interaction. We move on to part 2, introduction. You know, group-based learning is a powerful approach that fosters dynamic interaction and collaboration among students by leveraging the collective knowledge and diverse perspectives within a group. Learners can engage in rich discussions, problem solving, and the development of both technical and interpersonal skills. Let's turn to part 3, group-based learning. The first one, cooperative learning, is associated with well-structured domains where the focus is on division of labor and individual accountability. It emphasizes the use of pre-imposed structure and procedures to facilitate group performance. The second one, collaborative learning, is linked to ill-structured domains. It emphasizes equal contribution from group members during problem solving, with less pre-imposed structure and a more natural interaction process. The third one, common ground. Despite the distinctions, both cooperative and collaborative learning can be viewed as approaches to group-based learning, sharing a common basis in group dynamics and the group as a learning environment. Next, these are key components of group-based learning. The first one, group composition. Group-based learning typically involves groups of 2 to 6 participants. The second one, positive interdependence. Group members are interdependent with their efforts and contributions needed for the group's success. The third one, individual accountability. Each student is responsible for their individual contribution to the group's performance and process. The last one, shifting teacher role. The teacher's role shifts from being teacher-centered to a more student-centered coaching approach. Next, we come to part 4, dimensions of group-based learning. The first one, structure, the level of restructuring from high, for example, rigorous task division, communication protocol to low is a key dimension. Striking the right balance is crucial to support group interaction and efficient performance. The second one, learning objectives. Group-based learning can be applied to both closed skills, well-defined objectives, and open skills, for example, argumentation, negotiation, conflict resolution. The third one, task type. The task can be adaptive, requiring individual contributions, disjunctive depending on the most competent member, or conjunctive depending on the least competent member. Now we compare structured tasks with open-ended tasks. Structured tasks means well-defined objectives, limited solutions, for example, learning concepts, rules, procedures. Commonly used in group-based learning procedures like student teams, achievement divisions, and learning together. While open-ended tasks means negotiation and synthesis tasks, multiple solutions. Commonly used in higher and distance education to develop skills like argumentation and conflict resolution. We can say that group-based learning adapts to different learning needs. The first one, closed skills. Group-based learning is well suited for teaching well-defined objectives and lower-level skills. The second one, open skills. Group-based learning can also stimulate the development of open skills like argumentation, negotiation, and conflict resolution. The last one, versatile approach. The flexibility of group-based learning allows it to be adapted to a wide range of learning objectives and skill levels. In short, this paper has explored the conceptualization of group-based learning, highlighting the common ground between cooperative and collaborative approaches. The authors have proposed a process-based classification of group-based pedagogy. This framework can inform the design and facilitation of effective group-based learning, both in face-to-face and computer-supported learning environments. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your listening. Now I would like to invite Mr. Hui to present the next part.
The most sincere greetings to our professor and fellow friends. My name is Hui, and I'm going to continue my group's presentation. In the article 2, I'm going to talk about the social construction of knowledge. So my presentation explores the social constructivist perspective on group-based learning dynamics. It dives into key concepts, theoretical frameworks, and the role of distributed cognition, the dynamic process of knowledge creation. Firstly, let's discuss introduction to social constructivism. We got three things to focus on. Firstly, social constructivism. Secondly, key concepts. And thirdly, theoretical frameworks. Now, let's talk about social constructivism. So, social constructivism is regarded as the foundation for group learning. Uh, Regarding the key concept, is based on the prior knowledge, social interaction, and learning context that the student uh, can observe and learn from. And thirdly, theoretical frameworks. So these are the theories based on Piagetian and Vygotskian frameworks. Let's discuss a bit uh, related to theoretical perspectives. Firstly, construction of shared perspective. This is mentioned by Resnick, 1991, on the construction of shared perspective within groups. Uh, Related to situated learning, Brown et al., 1989, on the importance of learning context. And finally, cognitive apprenticeship, mentioned by Collins in 1988, on the cognitive apprenticeship model. So the gaps in understanding interactive processes during the group learning are also discussed. Now, let's move to the concept of distributed cognition. So the concept of distributed cognition are the cognitions arising from interaction as regarded by Solomon in 1993. Mm, so it includes two conditions, physically distributed and socially distributed. So physically distributed cognition is the interaction with non-person variables, while socially distributed cognition is about the interaction among individuals. So the emphasis on the dynamic nature of knowledge creation through interactions. Now, let's talk about dynamics of learning and interaction. We got three items to mention. First, cognitive disequilibrium. Cognitive development involves cognitive disequilibrium, leading to cognitive synthesis. Uh, in group performance influenced by interaction between members and artifacts. And finally, prior knowledge is about the importance of prior knowledge states in group interaction. So, dynamic social systems in learning is research based on the two literary works. Firstly, Brons van Brenner's human ecology theory, um, which mentioned microsystem, mesosystem, exosystem, and macrosystem. Yeah. The second one is about contextual influence model. Uh, Hatch and Gardner, 1993, on the interconnectedness of group interaction and environmental factors. We also mentioned a little bit about interaction patterns in groups. So the impact of group size on performance. So additive or disjunctive tasks improve with larger groups. Conjunctive tasks performance decreases with size. And in group-based learning dynamics, equality of participation in group-based learning is focused on. Now, let's talk a bit about the types of student interaction. We got four types: one-way, two-way, interactive, and finally networked. Networked mean the communication between a lot of people over here, uh, and there are some differences in interaction quality by group size and type, which we need to take into consideration. Finally, we come to the conclusions and recommendations. So firstly, we need to focus on the shared basis for cooperative and collaborative learning approaches. And secondly, we need to focus on the importance of considering the group interactions, performance, and learning objectives. Finally, we also need a lot of careful designs. So a careful design of group-based learning related to task type, structure, and group size will decide on the success of a person, but the teachers in applying the method into teaching. So future study is required to explore relationship between group dynamics and learning outcomes. Uh, Over here, I share a little bit about some thoughts which focus on recognizing the complexity of group interactions and their impact on learning. We also need to emphasize the dynamic nature of group-based learning environments, and finally, the importance of flexible design and pedagogical strategies for effective learning outcomes.
And now Miss Lâm Thanh Ngọc will present the objects, the introduction, literature review, and methods of enabling group-based learning in teachers' education.
Atlantis Group-based learning in teacher education, a case study of children advanced. This paper allows a case study on the use of group-based learning in teacher education programs. It invented the prevention and advancement of both education and research teachers, highlighting the importance of consent and conservation in understanding group-based learning to attain the quality of teacher education. Objects number 1. Content. A relationship tutorial of teacher education. Number 2. Focus. Invention of group work. Group-based learning in teacher education. Number 3. Materials. Longitudinal case study erosion recension of educate and research teacher. Number 4. Case findings. Importance of consent and conservation in group-based learning undertaken to enhance teacher education quality. Introduction. A short teacher education program often centered for individual classroom participation. Case of Horace 20 yellow seat, cut and paper 20 yellow street, goals improve the effectiveness and impact of teacher education components. Group-based learning as a straightforward for developing teaching skills. Importance of group-based learning. Differentiation. Group-based learning improves learning through activity, discussion, and debate. Benefits. It has interpersonal communications and teamwork skills. Factory research, science, and operation of knowledge. Reduction of attributes. Enhancing ability to work in teams. Reserved content. Challenges identify lack of theory and practical knowledge among teachers on group-based learning. Need for teacher education to understand research teachers' expressive research approach. Quality case study focusing on K7 research teachers' expressive methodology. Number 1. Participate. 309 research teachers first year, 208 third year, 91. Number 2. Data collection method. Service related case paths to gather the information and expensive data. Focus group. Individuals insight on group-based learning expensive. Action research. Participate evaluation and reflection on group-based learning pedagogy.
And now Mr. Mai Quang Ho will present the findings of this article.
Promoting the potential for group-based learning. This action refers to ways that enable the pre-service teachers to advance their skills, capabilities, and understanding, develop social and learning networks and employability and interpersonal skills, share knowledge and ideas with others, and facilitate learning through collaboration. Advanced skills, capabilities, and understandings, professional and personal growth. Group-based learning work enabled learning by advancing the pre-service teacher's professional and personal growth. Many of the abilities overlap into their professional and social lives. Interpersonal skills. Pre-service teacher learning is also advanced when they develop interpersonal skills relevant to their study and teaching work. Questioning and sharing information. Undertaking different GBL roles assisted some students to question and share information and support each other's learning. Facilitate personal capabilities through social and learning networks. Increased confidence. First-year students, in particular, increased their confidence to meet, communicate, and socialize with new people, developing a sense of community. Overwhelmingly, first and third-year students valued collaborative learning opportunities. Lifespan-related social and learning skills. Increased personal capabilities were perceived as vital to developing the pre-service teacher's classroom and everyday communication skills, especially as teachers are required to interact with strangers. Encourage sharing of knowledge and ideas, breaking down topics. The opportunity to share knowledge and ideas is paramount to the student's engagement in learning, challenging socially and academically. Working in groups challenged the students socially and academically as they undertook new roles, worked with new people, and re-examined a topic, sharing contrary ideas. Survey results reflect the ideas put forward by the students. Collaboration for learning, collaborative qualities. The key collaborative qualities of working as a team, organizing meetings, open communication practices, respect of others' opinions, constructive criticism, and fair and equitable group behavior and responsibilities were stressed by them. Relaxed and inclusive environment. Working collaboratively enabled them to learn in a relaxed and inclusive environment. GBL supports learning. The En Vivo thematic analysis showed that GBL supports pre-service teachers' learning in discussing and sharing new knowledge and ideas, advancing one's capabilities, and collaborating with others. Confronting the challenges of group-based learning. Challenges. Description, roles, expectations of GBL. The pre-service teachers, 65% of first year and 29% of third years, liked learning in groups, group selection, and structure. Survey results showed that pre-service teachers preferred randomly selected groups, 36% first years, 46% third years, to groups chosen by skills and abilities. Equity and fairness. One of the main inherent challenges to GBL is the perceived equitable and fair behavior of group members, particularly where assessment is involved. Conflict resolution. Group work challenged students when they were exposed to interpersonal conflict. Pre-service teachers were aware of the need for them to develop people and negotiation skills, including, as one first-year student wrote, tact and diplomacy. Roles, standards, and expectations. Key factors that hinder GBL. Key factors that hinder GBL are the anxiety and frustration the pre-service teachers experienced when peers held differing ideas about roles, standards, and expectations, and when individual inequity of effort occurred. Preliminary discussion of GBL roles, individual and group standards, work ethic. and individual and group expectations can alleviate much of the confusion and tension experienced when the pre-service teachers' practice and behavior differ. Factors that enable productive GBL. These preparatory discussions lay the foundation for meaningful GBL to occur and, as discussed later in the paper, are important in reducing inequities due to differences of standards, expectations, and effort. Group selection process can challenge learning. Random selection practices enabled the students to interact with new people, listen to, and learn from others. Friendship-determined groups enabled student learning. Age of group members also influenced learning outcomes. Some younger students said their opinions are sometimes devalued by older students. Equity and fairness. Collective accountability. The pre-service teachers experienced this challenge when working in groups at school and university. They stressed the importance of accountability to others and commitment to the group when working on a joint assignment. Fair marks distribution. The issue of fair distribution of marks for individual output of effort dominated many of the first-year focus group discussions and was stressed by some third-year students. Peer assessment. Survey results reflect field notes and summary sheet comments with 89% of first-year and 81% of third-year student responses showing the group should receive an overall mark as well as an individual mark for effort. Coaching for conflict management and resolution. Group work challenged students when they were exposed to interpersonal conflict. Pre-service teachers were aware of the need for them to develop people and negotiation skills, including, as one first-year student wrote, tact and diplomacy. Interpersonal group relationships were challenged when one person inadvertently took over and the other group members lacked the conflict resolution skills to resolve the matter.
Thanks, Mr. Ho. Hello, Miss Như. My name is Nguyễn Thị Hương. I will present the conclusions of this article and share some applications of using group-based learning in teaching English for students. First of all, I would like to present the conclusions of this paper. This study provides valuable insights into the experiences and perceptions of K-7 reservist teachers regarding group-based learning. By understanding their life realities, teacher educators can design and facilitate group-based learning experiences that are responsive to the needs of reservist teachers, finally enhancing their learning and the learning of the children they will teach. And the reservist teachers' perceptions of group-based learning can inform teacher educators as they design, plan, implement, monitor, and assess group-based learning experiences. This can lead to a more responsive and relevant curriculum that enables meaningful learning for reservist teachers and the children they teach. The reservist teachers have also helped to contrast their learning and teaching, highlighting the importance of making group-based learning experiences explicit and actively promoting positive outcomes. This can enhance the reliability of group-based learning as a meaningful learning strategy. However, teachers and educators must also vigorously confront the challenges of group-based learning, particularly in creating and sustaining safe and equitable experiences that produce meaningful and fair learning outcomes. This can advance the transfer of group-based learning knowledge and skills from university to the classroom. And here are some positive group-based learning outcomes. The first one is explicit promotion. It is imperative that teachers, educators make explicit and actively promote positive group-based learning outcomes, rather than leaving productive learning to chance. And the second one is safe and equitable experiences. Particular attention should be given to creating and sustaining safe and equitable group-based learning experiences that produce meaningful and fair learning outcomes. And the third one is enhancing readability. This type of learning experience is likely to enhance the readability of group-based learning as a meaningful learning strategy and advance the transfer of group-based learning knowledge and skills from university to the classroom. And now I would like to share some applications of group-based learning in teaching English for students. As you know, group-based learning encourages students to work together, fostering communication, participation, and critical thinking in English classrooms. Firstly, I often apply group-based learning in role-plays. I have students practice dialogues based on specific scenarios such as ordering food at a restaurant or doctor and patient in a hospital in a low-pressure cooperative environment. Secondly, I apply group-based learning in cooperative discussions. I provide topics for groups to discuss and present summarized to the class that promotes active participation and critical thinking. Thirdly, group-based learning can also apply for project-based learning. I assign longer-term group projects like creating a class newspaper or storybook that develops teamwork and language skills. Fourthly, group-based learning can also apply in information gap activities. I give different information to each group member and students have to communicate to complete the task or solve the problem. This encourages fluency and problem-solving ability. Fifthly, I also use group work to develop speaking skills. In interactive presentations, groups present their works to the class that develops public speaking skills and teamwork. In debates, groups argue different viewpoints on a topic that encourages fluency and critical thinking. In storytelling circles, groups cooperate to create stories, developing creativity, listening, and speaking skills. Sixthly, I also integrate technology in group-based learning by using tools like cooperative online documents or interactive platforms such as Padlet, Google Slides for group brainstorming and idea sharing to enhance group-based learning experiences. In order to enhance group-based learning in teaching English for students, teachers should notice feedback and assessment, including group reflection. Students reflect on their group's performance and identify areas for improvement. Peer assessment. Students provide constructive feedback on their peers' contributions. Teachers' assessment. Teachers evaluate individual and group outcomes to ensure accountability. And in order to manage group-based learning, the teacher should establish clear guidelines and expectations for group behavior and participation, monitor groups to ensure that they stay on task, and provide guidance when needed, rotate group members periodically to give students the opportunities to work with different classmates. When applying group-based learning, I found some challenges, like dominant and passive students, off-task behavior, and assessment fairness. Then I suggest some solutions. For dominant students, teachers should assign specific roles to avoid dominance by some students. For passive students, teachers should use strategies to encourage participants, like science brainstorming, that students write ideas before sharing. To avoid off-task behavior, teachers should set clear goals and time limits for each task and make expectations explicit. To ensure assessment fairness, teachers should use rules that measure both group cooperation and individual contributions. That's the end of my group's presentation. Thanks for your listening. Goodbye.